Good morning, gang. Happy Tuesday morning. All right. So, when you talk to most people and say prepping, they think, oh my God, you think the world's going to end, Teowaki, Martian invasion, zombie apocalypse, something along those lines, right? Okay, sure. That's a possibility. World War III, we think that's a possibility. Civil War, we think that's a possibility. Getting more probable as the day goes by. But let's say that stuff never happens in our lifetime. Let's say cooler heads prevail, World War III is averted, Joe Biden's thrown out of office, we actually get back to peace and prosperity in this country. Okay. You know, you go back and hey, in the 70s, the world's going to freeze, and then it was the world's going to boil. You know, the the world won't exist anymore due to climate change. The oceans are going to flood out the East Coast. 9/11 happened. Y2K. All these things that people have said were going to be the end of humanity, and we're going to be in a Mad Max scenario. Hell, even the Great Recession in 2008. That devastated a lot of people too. But we came out of it. Okay. A lot of us worse for wear, but we came out of it and society went on. Let's stop for a minute and think, okay, how do we prep for society to continue? Now, one of the things you hear all the time, constantly, I saw something yesterday that when millennials are, insulting the older generations, going, okay, boomer, the response should be, no problem, renter. Okay. Because you want to stick it right back to them. It's like, you don't have a chance to ever own your house. Yeah, that's kind of what we get into. And I will give a little bit of sympathy there for not being able to ever own their house. Not that they didn't vote for the people that caused the problem in the first place. But, hey, you wanted $15 an hour minimum wage. We told you Big Mac meals were going to be $10. You didn't believe us. Guess what? That's what happened. Okay. We told you not to get your degrees in Latin American dance or African American studies because there were no jobs other than being a barista at Starbucks. And guess what? We were right again. Okay. But you didn't want to listen. So I ran across something this morning. It was a little old, so I did the math here with current numbers to see how much money we spend individually in interest in our lifetimes. Okay? We know the federal government is $34.1 trillion in debt right now. The interest rate is, millions of dollars a second. Okay, none of us are in that case, are that bad. But this got scary when I started to look at what we pay to be a debt society, a debt economy. Now, what I took for this was very, very simple, okay? But it'll give you an idea. It was going over somebody who's got an average credit rating, who does the average things in life, okay, pays their bills on time, and doesn't do anything crazy, okay, just based on this. So let me run this by you real quick, just so you can get an idea why I say pay off your debt, get out of debt. In January 2024, this has actually come down, guys. The average cost for a house in the United States is now $495,000. It was over $500,000 the end of 2023. Okay. Now, sure, if you're in San Francisco, it's more. If you're in Wichita, Kansas, it's less. I get it. But like I said, I'm just going over an average just so you have an idea. $495,000 house. Interest rates are currently at 6.99% for a 30-year mortgage. Okay. Assuming you put 20% down and have a conventional mortgage, okay, which means now you're financing less than $400,000. Financing a $495,000 house, you're financing just under $400,000. Over the course of that 30-year mortgage, you will pay $555,833 in interest. So basically, you bought that house twice. Okay? There's $500,000 right there. Credit cards. We all know credit card debt is now at an all-time record. Okay? We're well over I think it's $1.3 trillion of unsecured debt on credit cards. Okay? The average person in the United States has $5,733 that they carry in a balance, not what they spend each month to make a payment on. That's the average balance carryover. Okay? At that point, at an average interest rate of 16%, that means you're paying over $10,000 in interest over the course of your lifetime. Okay? Student loans. We all know this one. The people are screaming, we want forgiveness for student loans, yada, 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 because they take out student loans, use it for cars and spring break trips and all this. Or some of it goes to room and board and tuition, but the rest of it goes for spending money because the kids don't want to go to work. Okay. The average student loan balance as of January 2024 is $38,792. The average interest rate is 6.8% and going up. Okay? Which means if you pay off your student loans in 10 years, okay, 10 years, you'll have paid $14,800 in interest. Okay? So at that point, you're talking about better than a third of what you borrowed in the first place. How about car loans? We all know that. I mean, you look at, when's the last time you bought a new car? I bought one new car in my life. That was in 1997. And that was probably the dumbest thing I ever, in regards to buying cars, it was the dumbest thing I ever did. I've done a lot of dumb things in my life. Never again will I buy a new car. It's stupid. Okay. That's the old saying, 10% as soon as you drive off the lot, try more like 20. Okay. Not going to happen. The current price of a used car, anything. I mean, I don't care if you're talking Toyota Prius or you're talking Lamborghini. Okay. Not that a whole lot of people are buying Lamborghinis. The average used car price in January is $26,533. Okay, that's nuts. Just saying. Okay. The average interest rate on a used car is 8.62%. Now, here's the catch. The average person owns 8 cars in their lifetime. Some own more, some own less, but person. So figure this. That's one person. Husband and wife, that means the average household would own, the people in the household would own 16 cars. Per person, the average interest on a used car right now is $9,611. Times 8 means $76,888 in interest over the course of your life. Now, you're not going to buy a Lamborghini with that, but $76,000 would buy you one hell of a nice car. Okay? But the bank's getting that. So add all those up. Just those, okay? And I'm not talking about other things that you finance. Gee, I bought furniture and did it on a payment plan or something. Anything. Just, mortgage, credit cards, student loans, and cars. Okay? Like I said, we're going bare bones basic with the average, responsible human being. What most people will do. Responsible people. Add all this up. Over the course of your life, you will spend $657,521 in interest. Okay? Think about this. The average income in the United States, average, not median, average, is $65,423. So that means roughly 10 years worth of your work just pays the interest on the things that you need in your life before taxes. Okay? Now add another 20% or whatever combined that we pay between federal income tax, state income tax, if you got it, sales tax, you got it out of license plates. I mean, it's tax season. We all know what's going on with taxes. So start adding all this up. What do you have left? I mean, the average person works 40 years. Okay, you get your first real job, usually around 20, maybe 22, something like that, maybe 18 or where, but 20 is an average, whether or not you went to college. Okay, and you work until you're 62, 65. I mean, hell, if you make it to 70, you work 50 years. Okay, so if you work 50 years, 20% of your working life pays the interest on things you needed throughout your life. I'm not talking about going and buying McMansions. I'm not talking about going and buying Cadillacs. I'm talking about the basics, the modest house, the modest car, the modest lifestyle. Joe Average, Joe's six-pack is going to pay $657,000 in interest a year. You wonder why Jamie Dimon and all these bank CEOs have billions of dollars or $300 million golden parachutes? You're paying it. Okay? This is the thing. The less you feed the beast, the weaker the beast gets. Okay? We are still, I couldn't believe when I saw this the other day about CPI and that people are still spending like there's no tomorrow. And the funny part was, I understand inflation, that things are getting more expensive, so people have to spend more money. That I get, okay, on necessities. You don't have a choice. You need to eat. You've got to buy food or grow it or do whatever, but you got to have food, okay? But for most people, that means buying it or at least buying some of what they eat, right? But when people are going out and blowing crazy amounts of money on Christmas presents or on frilly little stupid stuff, okay, that has no value to them, and they're putting it on a credit card, should I have any sympathy for them? You went and spent $6 on a cup of Starbucks. I don't have any sympathy for you when you go, I'm still living in mama's basement. Okay. $180 a month saved right there if you don't buy Starbucks. If you want to pay $650,000 a year in interest, keep doing what you're doing. If you want to retire someday and not be at work at 11 o'clock in the morning, and when you go to lunch, the coroner picks you up and you're in a funeral home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, do something about it now. Get out of debt. If the world does not blow up, if we don't go into World War III, if we don't have another Klaus Schwab Chinese pandemic or whatever, and we come out the other end, it's a lot harder to take your house from you if it's paid for. It's a lot harder to take your car from you if it's paid for. Sure, I get you got to pay taxes, you got to pay license fees, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't have the payments, at least you've taken out the banks from the equation. Go out.